Here we are at the 2024 Koi World Championships, where they pick the most beautiful koi in the world. And this particular year, Dr. Haider AlYousuf has been given the honor of being able to become the first Shinkokai judge at the World Championships from the Middle East. So congratulations, Haider. What can you say about your experience in Tokyo here in Japan?
Well, thanks very much, Tony. I think for the UAE to be the first country from the Middle East to achieve this great achievement and present an international judge in the All Japan Koi Show, it's a fantastic achievement. And I'm certainly very privileged and honored to be that judge and to participate in this phenomenal event. Amazing fish. It was a really, really great experience. And thanks very much for your support in doing that. And to be honest, it's once in a lifetime experience. I've been enjoying the judging. The process was a little bit complicated, but I managed it well.
Yeah.
And happy to have participated in selecting the grand champion and some of these beautiful fish that we see here today. I'm a doctor, healthcare person, and my personal passion and hobby has been to collect the Japanese koi fish. I'm a long-standing hobbyist. I've been keeping and collecting fish for a long time. And I got more passionately and more professionally into Japanese koi fish over the last few years. I was privileged to be the first person from the Middle East to win a major award in the All Japan Koi Show in 2018. And this year, I've been selected to be the first international judge from the Middle East to judge in the All Japan Koi Show. Now, All Japan Koi Show is basically the World Championship of Koi Beauty, where all of the top fish from all over the world basically compete in Japan for the Grand Champion, which is the most, prestigious award in that space. Well, I've been into fish since I was very young. I started fish keeping since I was 10 years old. And I was fascinated by this world, and I started to learn about it a lot more. And at that time, there was no internet, there was no resources available. So I had to read university curriculum books from Amman University and Egypt University to get the science necessary for me to keep those fish successfully and to breed them successfully. My very first fish keeping experience was when I was 10 years old, and I bought an aquarium and I put a lot of fish there. And in 2 weeks, all of those fish died. And I was starting to try and understand, why did the fish die? What is the science behind it? What are the parameters of keeping these fish healthy? And what should I do to actually maintain them and sustain them? So I started to read about it and learn a bit about the filtration systems. How do you actually design a filtration system to keep your aquarium healthy? How much should you feed the fish? I started to learn about water parameters. So fish come from different parts of the world, and they have different parameters. So fish that come from Amazon River, for example, they like a very soft water because Amazon River is fundamentally rainwater, which is extremely soft, versus fish that come from Malawi lakes in Africa, which live in very, very hard water. It's almost as hard as seawater because the rocks that are around these lakes are very hard and they produce a lot of calcium, and the water hardness is very high. So in order to actually keep fish successfully, you need to try and mimic the conditions that they're used to in their original habitat. And that is a science in itself. So how to raise the pH or lower the pH, increase the KH, or to simulate the breeding cycle. So a lot of fish breed in the rainy season. So you do a cold water change to give them the impression that it's now raining and there is cold water coming from the sky, and then they go into breeding mood basically. So a lot of these kind of facts I started to read about and learn in order to be able to keep fish successfully. Koi fish are your ultimate fish keeping prize because they are sort of considered like thoroughbred horses, a very high-end collector item. And Japanese koi fish that make the mark and reach international competitions are actually extremely expensive, and sometimes they can reach millions of dirhams in value. And they are very sort of highly prized possession, and collectors from all over the world actually seek them. And the top breeders sometimes may only produce few thousand fish in a season, and you have hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world try to get these fish. So their value constantly increases. And as the fish grow in size, the value of that fish multiplies significantly as well. So my personal collection is basically a mix of different fish. Obviously, one of the most common fish is what's called a kohaku. And a kohaku is a red and white fish. And when you are judging a red and white fish in competition, for example, you look at the distribution of the red color across the fish, you look at the body conformation of the fish, even for example, and so that is called kuchibeni, and kuchibeni is like a lipstick. So that's a fish with a lipstick basically, and that has a certain merit in evaluation. So for example, if you look at, let's wait for one of the red and white fish to come in. So that fish, if you can see, the body is a little bit thinner, so it's a medium quality fish in comparison with this one where the body is much more balanced and organized. This is a red, white, black fish that's called showa, and you can see the three colors are distributed nicely across the body, which gives it a merit as well. Some of the single color fish, you look at the scalation and you look at the symmetry of the scalation. How symmetrical is the fish? How clean is it? It doesn't have any dots. So all of these are merits that basically are used in final competitions to value the fish. So that's a red and white fish, but it has a little black spot, for example, over there. And that black spot is a demerit, so that it loses value because it's supposed to be a red and white fish. For example, even where you see the last spot before the tail, where that ends and how close that is to the tail. If it's too close to the tail, then that's a demerit. If it's too far from the tail, it's a demerit. So it has to be within like half a centimeter away from the tail for it to be regarded as high quality. And obviously Japanese koi fish are very friendly. They're like pets. You can pet them, play with them, you can feed them. They would come and eat from your hands. So obviously they don't have teeth, they don't bite, they can't bite, and they're very, very friendly with humans. In fact, they actually can recognize their owner because they recognize your footsteps. So when I come out of the door in the morning, they're all sitting here waiting for me because they recognize that the guy that feeds us is now coming. And they know the different footsteps of different people, and they know that these are the footsteps of the guy feeding us essentially. And you hear a lot about goldfish memory being a very short memory, but actually koi fish memory is very good. They recognize patterns and people. So this fish is a male, and male fish are a little bit more feisty than female. Female are a lot more calm and a lot more friendly, but we will still assess the fish, evaluate the fish. So we look at all the criteria, the face, the body, this is the shoulder. We look at the conformation of the scales. So we look at it from down, we look at it from up, we assess it, we evaluate it, we look at the conformation of the fins, all of the structures. So that's how we normally assess a fish. And then there's a very, very unique Japanese way of handling fish. So Japanese always handle fish by hand. So essentially you take the fish like that, and then that's how you move the fish. So to me, on a personal level, especially given my busy job in healthcare, fish keeping has given me a lot of peaceful time, and this is actually a very peaceful place for the whole family to gather around, have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and it allows us to disconnect from sort of the normal world and go into a much more peaceful place. And it's, you know, I've been trying to support people here to understand a bit more about fish keeping and koi fish, and I'm always happy to help people to get into that, because there's a lot of science that you need to do in order to actually create an environment like that and keep the water clean. I think some of the most important tips are always get a good filtration system, understand what you want to achieve out of it, and then make sure that you're actually building a deep pond, because koi fish need that depth, and deeper water can maintain its temperature, and especially in our hot weather, temperature maintenance is very important because these fish come from a cold sort of weather, and we need to try and manage the temperature as much as possible.